Welcome into the LSU Sports Insider Podcast. Today's Tuesday, June the 10th. And we made it, everybody. Scott Rabalais, Koki Riley, and myself. We made it through a long regional weekend. We made it through a hot super regional weekend. But most importantly, so did the LSU baseball team. They are headed to Omaha for the 20th time. And guys, y'all leave for Omaha tomorrow, so we had to get a preview podcast in. This is a College World Series preview podcast. It's that time of year.
It is, if the Tigers are in it, it seems like they go every year, and they almost do. They've averaged every other year since 1986. I was in school when LSU made it the first time in 1986. Can I tell a quick story?
Of course.
Please.
So LSU's playing Tulane in the regional final, and the SEC spring meetings were going on at the same time. I guess everything was earlier, and so the sports information director Joe Yates calls me from Destin. He calls the press box, and he's like, "Can you give me the play-by-play of the game?" Because they're in Destin. There's no TV, obviously. The radio can't reach over there. There's certainly no internet, and so I'm giving him the play-by-play of the last inning or so. There's a chopper across the inning. They feel it. They're going to Omaha. Okay, thanks. Bye. That was it. It was almost like
long-distance phone charges, no doubt.
Yes.
I would think at that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of fun because I imagine that just this knot of LSU people in Destin just hanging on. What's going on? It's like
the messenger, Scott Rabalais. Things are a little bit different now that you get like 1,000 social media posts and videos and everything else, including our post-game show on the LSU Tigers at NOLA.com YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to. Hit the like button and share with your friends because we're going to have post-game shows from Omaha also. I won't be in Omaha, but these guys will, and hopefully they'll be able to join sometimes around deadline. But LSU opens Saturday night, 6 p.m. against Arkansas. As we speculated, it would be the primetime Saturday night game. And I don't know, before we dig into that, let's talk quickly about this accomplishment for this team. For those who missed it in the postgame show, I think it's important to celebrate a team where, if they hadn't made it to Omaha, this season is seen as a failure, probably unfairly so. But if they had fallen short in the postseason, you go, 6 in the country, but you fell short, not good enough. That's a really unfair standard. So I think the fact that they met that standard, we should celebrate this team a little bit.
Yeah, this team is definitely worth celebrating because, yes, you could argue that they got, quote unquote, I don't want to say quote unquote, but that they got lucky to get the draw that they did where they never face a 1 seed.
They got a good draw
in the super regional. You get the lowest 3 seed, you get the lowest 4 seed in your own regional, and you get a 2 seed in Dallas Baptist that, quite frankly, just did not play well at all. But you still have to earn your way to getting a top 8 seed to put yourself potentially in a position where you can get that lucky bounce. You know what I mean? They did not do that last year, and then that resulted in them not getting a pretty unfortunate bounce where you end up in UNC's regional, and UNC is a clear Omaha caliber team, and you have to fight and scratch and claw to even get to be 2 outs away to win that regional. And I think the work that they put in during the regular season to win 19 games in conference play, to do all the things that they didn't do last year during the 56 game regular season, that's what that was the key to getting them to where they're at today.
Yeah, and I think the draw is what it is. We'll talk about that a little bit because now that they're in Omaha, LSU kind of has a bad draw.
Yeah.
And let's go there next. LSU opens 6 p.m. Saturday with Arkansas. Arkansas and LSU are the 2 highest teams left in the bracket. They're the only 2 SEC teams left in the bracket. And it's going to be kind of a clash of titans. And ideally, Scott, I guess you'd like this to be like a possible championship finals series, Arkansas versus LSU. Not only are they on the same half of the bracket, they got to play in the first round. So one of these 2 juggernauts is going to have to fight its way through the loser's bracket.
Yeah, this is for anyone who is a proponent of them reseeding the College World Series once they get to Omaha. Here's a prime example. These are clearly the 2 best teams that are left. Not the only 2 teams that can win, but they're the top 2 favorites. They're the top 2 seeds that are left, and one of them's going to be in a big bind, and the other one's going to have a big advantage. It's a massive game. It's great for a first round matchup, it's by far the marquee one, and like you said, that's why they're playing Saturday night. But you could make an argument that they should be in separate brackets now or something like that, but that's not the way it works. They don't do that in the basketball tournaments. They don't do that in softball. So this is what it is. But it is. It's not lacking for drama or for a colossal matchup. It's as big a first round game LSU's played in the College World Series. It's one of the biggest. I remember they played Texas one year
with Tennessee 2 years ago, which was a fairly big. Now Tennessee was not like number one. I think Wake Forest was number one in the country that year, so it wasn't like the two favorites, but it was a big game. I mean, look, when you get to Omaha, you're either playing somebody really good or somebody who's playing really well, or both. Like, there's no easy games.
Yeah, there's no easy games. Even if it is odd that, the winner of this game faces the winner of Murray State and UCLA, which is just odd. But that's how these things work sometimes. And I don't think LSU fans can really complain about this draw because again, like, as I just said, they were very fortunate to get the draw that they got in the regional, and then they were even more fortunate to get the super regional draw that they got. Sometimes these things work around. You had to beat a team like Arkansas to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish this season anyway. And the fact that it's in the first game is that's just the reality of the situation. Because yes, you could reseed everything, and the top seed plays the lowest seed, but just because you're the top seed or just because you're the lowest seed doesn't mean you're necessarily the best team, and doesn't mean you're necessarily the worst team, right? So
correct. And to me, the whole reseeding thing, I get it, I do, and I think in a professional environment, maybe it makes sense. The NFL does it. You really want to reward that regular season, keep it meaningful. To me, it's the magic of college sports a little bit. We have this bracket. We talk about it every March with basketball, but I think it fits for baseball too. And football needed the seeding fix on the playoffs, but I don't think that they're ever going to reseed, because the draw is sort of part of it, where it's like, you're a fan of a school and you like to look ahead and say, root against that 2 seed because then we might get the 7 seed, and root against, but look at the tough game we might face in the Elite Eight or the first game in Omaha or whatever. And Jay Johnson even said he did that. He was kind of looking at the bracket ahead and say, hey, if we get to Omaha, we've got Arkansas. He didn't shy away from it.
Yeah, I mean, there's some integrity to it that is it's well established. So yeah, I don't think they're going to change. And if you made me say pick, should they do it or not? I guess I would say not. It just seems a little unfortunate that one of these two teams could get knocked out first. But it's a great story. It's a great game. It's a great matchup. And the only other storyline, well, obviously Murray State's a great storyline since they're the four seed to make it all the way to Omaha. But looking down the road, the storyline that would be really great is LSU against Arizona, Jay Johnson against his old team. But going back to what y'all said earlier, it should be celebrated as an achievement to make it to the Elite Eight. I've always said to get to the College World Series is a huge goal, and after that, it can be a bit of a crapshoot. Your team cannot hit well. We watched LSU hit line drives all over the park the other night, Sunday night, and before they finally they got some hits to fall in, but they were hitting some hard hit balls, and that can happen in a game. You can get a bad break. It's the craziness of baseball that you just dink a hit and it could be a triple, and you just smash it and you hit it right at somebody, it's an out. So, but just to get to the Elite Eight. Only 3 top 8 national seeds made it: LSU, Arkansas, and Oregon State. Only 5 of the top 16 made it, along with Coastal Carolina and UCLA. So it's tough, and a lot of really good teams are sitting home. I know Koki thought UNC was really a team to beat, and they couldn't make it out of their regional.
Yeah,
so
that was shocking. That was genuinely shocking that they couldn't get out of their regional, and they would have been they didn't get their super regional, as you said, and that would have been that kind of would have been the third that would have been the third head on the dragon, right? Between LSU, Arkansas, and them, because I think they would have had a real shot at winning this whole thing. But now they're done. So that side of the bracket with Oregon State, Coastal, Arizona, and Louisville, that's. Who knows? Who knows, man?
So let's talk about the bracket and the field a little bit here. We have got all 8 teams up on the screen with their record, their conference. I mean, one storyline is how the SEC only got 2 teams to Omaha. They had 13.
Fewest since 2016.
And I would agree that it was a disappointing couple of weeks for the SEC. But at the same time, no other conference got more than 1 team in. The ACC's got 1. We can just go down. It's like it's Coastal Carolina's from the Sun Belt. Arizona's Big 12. Oregon State's an independent. You can give them the Pac-12 if you want. Louisville's ACC.
Well, the old Pac-12 had 3 teams.
That's what I was going to say. UCLA's Big 10. Murray State is. I don't even know what they are. Are they Ohio Valley or
Ohio Valley?
Little
Missouri
Rock was
Valley.
Ohio Valley.
Little Rock was Ohio Valley. Yeah.
Let's look it up.
This is bad. It feels like we should know this.
Yeah,
We don't.
yeah.
It's on the screen. Missouri Valley.
Yeah, Missouri
Ohio
Valley.
Valley.
Missouri Valley.
It's
OVC.
It's OVC?
Yep.
No.
That doesn't make
Little
any
Rock
sense.
is OVC.
Well,
Murray State is OVC, I think, in basketball. I think they are Missouri Valley
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay, in baseball. Okay.
in baseball and maybe basketball now too. Murray State is Missouri Valley. Little Rock is Ohio Valley.
Yeah.
It shows how much we know. Now watch Murray State win the whole thing.
Well, we
Yeah.
haven't been paying a lot of attention to Murray State.
They're a great story. They're a
You're
great
right,
story.
Missouri Valley for baseball.
They're my favorite story in this whole thing.
But their coach like cuts the outfield grass.
He cuts the field, their own field's grass himself. Their stadium holds 800 people. Our
amazing.
print desk sports editor Jason Yates is a Murray State alum, and I don't even think he knew anything about the baseball team.
and Matt McMahon used to be their basketball coach.
Okay.
That's where he coached
Yes.
John
And
Morant.
So they made it out of the Ole Miss regional, and they made it out of the Duke Super Regional, which is probably a break for them that they didn't have to go play Georgia, but they played Duke.
Solid team. Still
Duke's
gotta
not a
go
bad
over
team.
there and win 2 games. Yeah, it's not.
They can
not
really
easy.
hit the ball. They're on LSU's half of the bracket. Am I wrong in saying that's the best story? I don't want to I know this is an LSU podcast. LSU's Goliath, okay?
Yeah.
Murray State's David.
Oh, yeah, they are the David of all Davids right now. And it was interesting. 2 years ago, there were tons of Goliaths, right? Where you have Florida, you have Wake Forest, you have LSU, you even have a team like Arkansas. Stanford's been there a million times.
Tennessee,
Tennessee. But there was also Oral Roberts. They were just they were just sort of thrown in there as a 4 seed, and they had that great season. So I don't know. It's nice to have at least one team in there that's a total David, and that's what you get in the racers. And I saw John Morant tweeted about them last night that they got to Omaha, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, Coastal Carolina obviously beat LSU in 2016 and went on to win the national championship. They were the Cinderella that year. They're almost the establishment compared
They're
to Murray
tied
State.
tied for the 3rd best odds of winning the whole thing.
I saw that.
I think
their
they
odds
maybe
were
my
very
pick
good.
to come out of the left side of the bracket.
Yeah,
The left side of the bracket
them
is-
Oregon
is
State.
definitely
That's
easy.
Yeah,
a-
it's them or Oregon State are
Yeah.
the favorites, and obviously Louisville and Arizona are playing well, but
A tip of the cap to Oregon State as well. They were. My heart just goes out to them in Washington State. They were left behind when all these schools, went to the Big 12 and the Big 10. They played as an independent list this year. They played 19 true home games before. No, they got to play the postseason at home because they were a top 8 national seed. But they played 19 true home games during the regular season as an independent. And they're going to reform the Pac-12 eventually. I don't know if by next baseball season or not, but
Yeah.
it's coming with some other schools. But the fact that they are in that part of the country, a cold weather part of the country, and that they've been this good and won 3 national championships in the last 20 years is remarkable. And
They still have the talent,
But you think Coastal's a favorite, or they're the favorite to make it to the
just
final?
on the odds board, I think Coastal is the 3rd national
I
champion.
thought they were
national
tied.
title favorite. Maybe they are.
I think they have the same odds. It's plus
Arkansas is
625,
very
right?
slightly ahead of LSU,
Yeah.
and then there's a gap to the
And there's a
to
gap.
everybody else.
It's Arkansas and LSU,
Yeah.
1-2, pretty close, and then it's those 2 teams that are 3 and
Only
4.
Jason Yates is betting on Murray State to win.
I like some long odds. Odds. But either way, by the way, Murray State against UCLA, that's the early game Saturday. Win or lose, we will have a David versus Goliath. Murray State's going to play either LSU or Arkansas in the second game.
That's remarkable.
And that's going to be college baseball. I don't know if you can call Arkansas royalty. Well, I'll take a shot at him here. Without winning a national title, are you college baseball royalty? Certainly,
they're as close as you get.
certainly they're
without
one of the most
being
talented teams.
Yeah.
in the country.
They're arguably them or Florida State. I guess it's probably Florida State, but they're right up there for the best program to never have won the national
Yeah,
championship.
it's funny. You look at this bracket, and I think 5 of the 8 teams have won a national title. Oregon State obviously won a couple.
3.
In the 2010s, 3. Arizona's won 4, I believe. They're one of the most ever. Coastal's won. It's won in 2016. UCLA's won in 2011, 2012. And so then you have the three who have, and then LSU obviously has won 7. The three who haven't are Murray State, Louisville, which is actually also,
Solid
they've
program,
been
yeah.
6 times to the College World Series in the last 18 years. And then you have Arkansas, who's like, how have they not won yet? I mean, obviously they came very close in 2018, should have beat Oregon State in that final and dropped the foul pop and ended up losing. But that's the other storyline that's fascinating.
Jason Yates and I were talking about when they lost to Oregon State, right? They missed the foul pop. And he was working in Little Rock at the time. He said, I don't think they've ever gotten over that because it looked they had it in their hands. It was,
Literally, they quite literally had it in their hands.
I mean, if you're an Arkansas fan, you are physically ill after a game like that, right? I mean, you just can't. If you're a baseball fan, your team's lost a tough game. Like, it's just part of baseball. But that one in particular, in a championship series where you're about to clinch it, I could see how you not get over that.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about one of the things I love about college sports is that, and the athletes they're really great, but they're not true pros. They're not major leaguers. They're not true NFL players. They can make mistakes that just leave you go, how did that happen? How did he not make the play? How did she not score that goal or whatever? And it just happens in college sports, and that's one of the prime examples.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the schedule, Friday, Coastal Carolina, Arizona is the opener, 1 p.m. Oregon State, Louisville, which is a good matchup, 6 p.m. Friday night. Then UCLA, Murray State's 1 p.m. Saturday, and Arkansas, LSU wraps up the opening round. By the way, if LSU were to win that game Saturday night, they would not play a single day game except for game 2 of the championship series if they got that far. Because of the way the bracket works out, it would be all night games. If they lose the first game, then their second game would be a day game on Monday afternoon against the loser of UCLA.
It would be just more time for LSU fans to get Jello shots in
at Rocco's.
And
Yeah,
Rocco's.
the fact that they got the Saturday, Monday, it slightly increased the chance of them, catching up to the record that they set 2 years ago, 68,889.
6,888.
It's all eights.
all
Okay,
eights,
6
yeah.
all 8. Okay, yeah.
I think they should just go for all 8s, 88,888, and then you can try to top that the next time the Tigers.
Who do you think's going to finish in second? Because LSU's going to win.
It's got to be Arkansas, right?
Yeah, it's probably going to be Arkansas, right? I would imagine it'd be Arkansas, but I was just
I'm
kind
not
of.
They're going to bring a lot of
Yeah.
fans. It's not a long trip from Fayetteville to
The only
Omaha.
thing, I mean, the only thing is with LSU and Arkansas, one of them is going to be right on the cusp of elimination right away, and so you could possibly see one of those fan bases gone after 3 days. I'm sure in Omaha they wouldn't appreciate that, but maybe they don't get second place. Like, here's the thing: if LSU should go to and barbecue, hypothetically, I don't think it's going to happen, but if they do they still win the Jello Shot Challenge?
That's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough. You're not there the whole
But
time.
that's the question, because some people will hang on.
They got to win at least a game.
But hey, I think if
LSU fans go whether they're there or not.
We have to remember that LSU fans are going to be very competitive about their own record. They're going to want to do everything they can in their power to break it. And yes, they have to win a couple games for it to happen to keep it going. But they know the record. They know that record, and they've been pining for it.
If they go
but
0-2.
LSU fans
will they still win the competition?
LSU fans go in numbers. I remember in 2022, LSU didn't make it. That was Jay Johnson's first year. There was a guy in an LSU shirt sitting right behind home plate game after game. And a friend of mine was covering Ole Miss. I said, "Can you do me a huge favor?" He said, "What?" He said, "Can you go down there and get that guy's name and his phone number?" "Yeah, I'll do it." So he did, and I got it, and I did a story. What are you doing there? "Yeah, well, I come every year." It was a good little story.
People book this vacation before they even know if LSU's going to be there.
That's a good time, man. I mean, seriously, if you're on the fence about going and you have the means to go, the downtown Omaha.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people miss old Rosenblatt, but the new stadium, while the stadium itself doesn't have the same character, in my opinion, the environment around the stadium is so much better.
It is. It's the ballpark itself is a little more sterile, but they've done a good job creating an entertainment district around the new ballpark. Rosenblatt had the zoo on one side and a residential neighborhood on the other side. There were a couple of places. There was a place called Zesto's. This local place that's famous for their ice cream or milkshakes or something like that. And there were a couple of places like that, but not many, not nearly as many as they have around.
And as the
Charles
attendance
Schwab.
at this thing has grown, they need that area. And the other thing is, Like if you're in Omaha, all the Uber drivers know it's World Series time. The bartenders know it's World Series time. The hotel people know. Like they embrace it. It's not like you're going to Chicago or something where there's 10 other things going on that weekend. Like
Yes.
that's what Omaha lives
Part
for.
of what makes it so magical and so awesome. And I mean, all of us have been fortunate enough to go. Rab, was this like the 9th time you're going to be going to Omaha?
Yes.
I mean, you were born in Omaha.
I was born in Omaha.
We just talked about this.
Yeah, almost
for
at
the show.
Rosenblatt Stadium. And I'll tell that story some other time on the air. But yeah,
And you went 2 years ago as well.
and that was the first time I'd actually been.
The first
to
time
the
you actually been
CWS.
for the CWS, yeah. And I was there 2 years ago as well. So it's a magical experience. I think anyone who likes baseball, not just college baseball, should go.
And if you just like college sports, like you said, Rab, there's so many good human stories to this. Some of these guys, like LSU's got a few guys, Arkansas's got a few guys we can talk about in a minute, who probably will be major leaguers one day. But there's also a lot who aren't. And this is going to be the pinnacle of their baseball career.
Oh yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, there's tons of them. That's the beauty and the bittersweet nature of college sports in the postseason. That someone is going to go into the majors like a Paul Skeens or a Jack Caglione or something like that. But somebody, it's their very last game, and that's it.
Kate Beloso, yeah.
Yeah, so it can be the ultimate certainly for some of these guys from Murray State. Whatever they do, it's going to be the ultimate experience, and it's a childhood thing. It's great that Omaha is the destination. It's just a word. If you know anything about college baseball, it's synonymous with the event. And there was a time back in the late '90s when the NCAA was kind of rattling sabers about moving it around because they wanted a new ballpark out of. They'd made improvements, a lot of improvements to Rosenblatt, but the city had. But they wanted a new ballpark, and there's a very nice AAA ballpark in Indianapolis, right by the NCAA headquarters. But they did it. They built the new ballpark that opened in 2010. No, it was after LSU won in 2009.
Okay.
South Carolina won the last one at Rosenblatt. They won the first one in 2011. Was the first
2011,
one.
yeah.
They won the first one at Rosenblatt when they went back to back. So it's there for the long term. It probably shouldn't go anywhere. It's like softball with Oklahoma City. It's become a destination.
That's where it belongs. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll dive more into this LSU Arkansas matchup when we come back and make our College World Series predictions after this on the LSU Sports Insider.
There's no better place to parlay than Caesars Sportsbook. With quick picks, you can tap right into pre-built, ready-to-bet parlays right from the home screen. And if you miss tip-off, no worries. You can play same-game parlays live during the action. Plus, it's never been easier to find and bet on the biggest matchups of the day, so you can keep up with all the action. Caesars Sportsbook, proud partner of the NBA and the only sportsbook app with Caesars Rewards. Download it today.
Welcome back to the LSU Sports Insider, talking some LSU in the College World Series. Interesting question I pose here to you, gentlemen, the experts in the room. Is LSU peaking for Omaha? It seems like an obvious question because they made it here. You don't make it through a regional and super regional without playing really well. But we were talking off air a little bit. Like, I think LSU's playing well. Is this the best they've played all year? I don't know because they haven't run into an SEC team. They haven't even run into a top ACC team or, as you guys said, a number one seed. Like all due respect to West Virginia and Dallas Baptist. But when those are your toughest games on paper in this regional run, then they played Little Rock 3 times, team that had a losing record. Like they're just sort of out-talenting these teams, in my opinion. They're just kind of showing what they've got. They're playing well enough to do it. Are they actually playing their best ball?
Well, West Virginia was the Big 12 champion, so I mean, let's give them. It was a pretty good baseball conference with with some of the teams that are in there. So let's give them the credit for that. But no, I don't think they've played their best ball. We were talking. I think when they ruled Arkansas at home, which obviously it comes to mind now. And Koki mentioned a game when they won 8-2 at Texas.
Yeah,
and Texas obviously was the number 2 national seed and the SEC champion. That was a really impressive win. But no, they didn't play great in the SEC tournament. Beat A&M by 1 run and then lost to Ole Miss for a shutout. The only time they've been shut out this season, right, was against Ole Miss.
Yes.
And then obviously kind of taken to push to the limit by Little Rock, and then West Virginia, they played pretty well, but 28 runs on 18 hits. They didn't have to hit. They hit the ball well, but they didn't have to hit the ball super great because West Virginia kept walking and hitting batters, left and right.
Yeah.
But the thing, of course, that gives you pause. I think if you're an LSU baseball fan, is that Cade Anderson got lit up for the most earned runs he's given up all season, and then Anthony Ianson got hit pretty well as well by a good hitting West Virginia team. Now, Ianson, like a lot of pitchers who pitched twice in the regional, had to come back and was not as impressive. I think we're going to see a better Anthony Ianson whenever he pitches. I assume he's going to pitch on Monday in Omaha. But I think for all those reasons, they can play better. And sometimes LSU just turns it on in Omaha. Sometimes they just go there, and some guys play like what he never did that all season. And
you need that.
You definitely
especially on
need
the pitching
that.
side. I would argue you
Yes.
need at some point you're gonna now. Maybe you just go through the winners bracket the whole time. You can kind of stick to your main guys, but especially if you drop into the elimination bracket, like you're going to need somebody. And they saw this 2 years ago, Koki. Like you're going to need somebody who you don't necessarily think you can rely on to come up big.
Yeah, absolutely. Pitching depth is going to be, you're going to use your pitching depth in Omaha one way or another. I think this LSU team has the capability to show that they have great pitching depth. We've seen it at times this season. Like that Ole Miss game, as you mentioned, was a very, very poor offensive showing, but it was a great pitching depth showing, right? Because they didn't use Evans, they didn't use Cowan, they didn't use Anderson, they didn't use Ianson, and they held a team that hosted a regional to 2 runs. It was very, very, very impressive. And if they can translate that in Omaha, they're going to win the whole thing. And especially if they win that first game. And that first game is something that obviously we're going to get into in terms of whether they're going to win that or not, because I think that's going to go a very, very long way, in an abnormally long way, in determining whether they're actually going to, come home from this thing with their 8th national championship. But yeah, just like overall, I feel like when I look back at this past weekend, I don't know if we should overreact to the way they hit the ball or the way they pitched, right, with Anderson and Ianson, because no one really pitched well the whole weekend, and that probably wasn't a coincidence. And I feel like the weather actually did have a factor to do with this, because you think about it, Anderson went 5 innings, he only gave up 1 run, and then the 6th and the 7th things went really haywire. Well, that's later in the game. That's as the day's getting hotter. That was a 1 p.m. game. And then with Ianson, he literally struck out the first 4 batters, like the sharp as he has all year. And then as the game went along, he struggled a little bit more, got more tired. It was hot outside.
And especially on Saturday, the ball was flying out too.
And the ball's flying, and I just feel like the box is always an offensive minded park. So I don't know if we should I wouldn't say overreact, but yes, we should keep in mind some of these things. And like Anderson's gotten hit a little bit more than Ianson has this year, but Omaha's going to be the exact opposite of what we saw at the box this weekend. It's going to be warm, but it's not going to be terribly hot. The wind's going to be, if the wind's blowing in from center field, which it usually is, no one's going to hit the ball out, because that's just how the dimensions work there. So
Jared Jones is the one guy LSU has who you think, okay, if he gets a hold of one, he could probably hit it out.
Yeah. And even then, it could be tough for him, because it is crazy how much the wind affects things there. I just feel like that's just advantage LSU starting pitchers, and with that environment, with the defense that this team plays, it's going to be very, very hard to beat this team with their top 2 pitchers, with the wind blowing in especially.
I think it is fair to say that Arkansas is peaking if you look at what they've done in the postseason.
Absolutely.
So let's dig into this matchup. I have not looked back at every College World Series. I kind of actually want to do that at some point this week. This has to be, if not the highest stakes opening round game ever in Omaha. Pretty close to it. The 2 highest seeds, number 3 Arkansas, number 6 LSU, 1, 2, 4, and 5 are all out. So the 2 highest seeds, the 2 betting favorites, anybody who's watched college baseball all year is going to say these are the 2 most talented teams here, are playing in the first round. And if you think about what all that means, if you win, you are then on a path to this championship series finals, where you're going to have to go up against number 15 seed UCLA which they're a good team. It's not like they can't beat you, but you'll take that matchup every time. Or Murray State, which again, you're like, it's baseball, they can beat you, but you'll take that matchup. And at that point, you would then get back you'd either face the other one of those teams to get into the championship series, or you'd face, say, Arkansas again and only need to beat them 1 out of 2 times. Whereas if you lose, you're the team that's got to play 4 games and win 4 straight games. And 2 of them will be against that Arkansas team. And so the stakes, and then, by the way, either one of these teams would be a pretty heavy favorite in the championship series. So the stakes are enormously high for this Saturday night game. The winner is going to be by far the betting favorite, maybe even an odds-on favorite, better than even money. The loser, all of a sudden, is going to see a very long road in front of them. So let's look at Arkansas. Arkansas, they will pitch Zach Root, their ace, on Saturday night against Cade Anderson.
Almost certainly, yeah.
We would assume. They have defeated all 5 of their regional and super regional opponents. The closest game was the game 1 against Tennessee. They won 4-3, but Tennessee only had 2 hits in that game. They hit a homer in the 9th to make it a 1-run game. Arkansas was really in control of that game. Then they turned around and just beat their brains in 11-2 against Liam Doyle on Sunday. They swept through their regional. Like, this is a really good hitting team. They play in a hitter's ballpark like LSU does. But they've got 6 guys hitting .320 or better. What do you say it was, Rab? 7 guys with doubled it with at least 13 homers. I mean, like, this team pounds the ball.
Yes,
they do. And LSU, I thought LSU did when these 2 teams faced each other. So we have that sample, which is kind of,
and it was at the box.
It was at the box, to be very clear. But LSU did a really good job of forcing them to swing and miss at pitches. Cade Anderson forced a lot of whiffs in that game, and I guess especially against Vahiva Aloy and Kahil Aloy, who are 2 of their more talented hitters. Vahiva is probably the best player on their team, at least offensively. But those guys are susceptible to swinging and missing at very good off-speed stuff, at elite stuff, and LSU has that. So I think LSU can hold them down offensively, especially if the wind's blowing in. So the question for me, actually more the question for me in this matchup is, how can LSU get to 5 runs? Because I think if they get to 5 runs, I think they're going to win this game. But I don't know if they can do it because, Zach Root is a much different beast than any pitcher LSU has faced during this postseason run. And they had a lot of trouble, scoring runs off Root. And when they came back and beat Root and beat Arkansas in that game 1, that was on the bullpen. And that was against Arkansas's bullpen. And that was because Aiden Jimenez sort of lost his command. And LSU sort of just took advantage of it, tied the game, went to the 10th inning. They won in extra innings. And, I honestly, I just really feel like they're going to have to do a better job against Root this time around, get them out of the game early, force some pressure on this Arkansas team, get out ahead, and really sort of ride their pitching staff to the end, because I have trouble seeing them win this game if they fall behind 4-5 by 3 or 4 runs, I'd say, just because it's going to be hard to score runs in this game if the wind's blowing in. So, you don't want to count on one of their relievers just not having a good game, because they have a very good bullpen. This is not a team that is going to lack that bullpen depth the same way West Virginia did, or some of these other teams that they faced in the regional and the super regional did. So I really feel like, getting to Root and having a better performance against him, because that's a guy that LSU wanted out of the portal, and they weren't able to land him for whatever reason. I feel like they did an okay job last time, better than they did against Liam Doyle. But they've got to do a better job this time around if they want to win this game.
Rab, these 2 guys, Anderson and Root, did face off in that Friday night game, and as Koki said, Root outdueled Anderson. He left the game. When the 2 pitchers left the game, Arkansas was ahead 4-2. Actually, it was 3-2, and then Arkansas actually added a run on Chase Short out of the bullpen to make it 4-2.
Yeah.
But LSU was able to rally, come back, and that was the difference in the series. LSU run-ruled Arkansas the next night, and then Arkansas won the Sunday game 7-4. This was almost exactly a month ago. It was May 9th through the 11th. How much do you take away from that? Obviously, we have a data point, but it's just one data point.
Yeah, I mean, LSU won the series. Seemed to lose a little focus, in my opinion, in the game 3. Like, hey, we beat them 2 games, so we did what we came to do. But it was impressive to come back and win that first game, and then just pound them in the middle game. So yeah, I mean, but it was at home. Would it have been different in Fayetteville? Probably so. They only lost like four games at home all season, Arkansas. So 37-4 at home all season. So that would have been tough to win that series over there. But that's the way it works out. I would. You can't argue. I don't think you can argue that Arkansas is playing a little better than LSU coming into the World Series, and that you can certainly make the argument they're the best team. You can also make the argument though that that was a very highly charged super regional against Tennessee. The defending national champions. Tony Vitello had been a coach under Dave Van Horn and hasn't exactly endeared himself to the Arkansas fans since he left.
Yeah.
You have Liam Doyle pitching for Tennessee, who's they're an annoying team. Tennessee, let's just call it what it is. I mean, they jump around a lot. They talk, they smack talk and all this stuff. And there was a lot of going back and forth. I think Arkansas really wanted to obviously win and get to the World Series, but really wanted to put it on Tennessee, which they did in Game 2. And I think it's a small risk, but you run the risk of. Obviously, it just meant something extra. It just means more. It's the SEC. It meant something extra for Arkansas to beat Tennessee that it didn't mean for LSU to beat West Virginia. West Virginia was just a team in their way. It wasn't like, we really hate West Virginia or they're a big rival.
Chase Meyer wasn't necessarily fond of the LSU fans, but that was about it.
Okay,
I can't imagine though that Arkansas is not getting up emotionally for the college World Series.
I'm just saying it can be hard to get back up to the same level.
Some emotional exhaustion, maybe.
Yes.
It's possible, but I do think we're going to see a clash of titans on Friday night. And by the way, the game LSU lost in that series, they had a chance to win as well. They're down 5-4 going into the ninth, gave up 2 runs in the top of the ninth. And then even at 7-4, LSU put 2 runners on in the bottom of the ninth and I can't remember who it was, hit a line drive right to Aloy at shortstop to end the game where, that was a hard hit ball, finds a hole. It's 7-5 and LSU's got the tying runs on base. Who knows what happened? So it's not like it's not like they just got blown out like Arkansas.
The difference in that game was 2 things. One, Casey Evans wasn't at his best. He was leaving some balls over the plate, and Arkansas definitely took advantage of it. He wasn't locating his fastball, wasn't locating his off-speed pitches. At that split change, he was keeping it high, and Arkansas was just sort of pounding on it. And then 2, like Arkansas's pitching depth really shone through in that game. They used a lot of their, their 3, their 4, their 5 relievers after they used their 1 and 2 on Friday, obviously, and that pitching depth really shone through, and they sort of kept LSU's offense at a distance. LSU did a good job of sort of competing in the game, staying within some sort of striking distance, but with Arkansas's pitching depth and with Evans not totally on his game, it was going to be tough. It was going to be really, really hard to win that game.
Yeah, I agree. Before we move into predictions, I want to raise one more point about the pitching. Jay Johnson was pretty conservative throughout this postseason about when to use Zach Cowan and Casey Evans. Like, he saved them that Sunday game against Little Rock, even as LSU was running into trouble. He said, we've got another game in hand, let's save these guys. Didn't see them at all against West Virginia. They weren't really needed. You could have used them Sunday night to kind of close things out. Instead, he went with Chase Shores. Worked out, certainly. I am curious to see if Saturday night, close game, it's tied, LSU's up a run or 2 or even down a run or 2. Does he burn Cowan and Evans? Use your best guys, given the importance of this game. What do you think?
Oh, boy.
Because the stakes are high, man.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Cowan kind of has a rubber arm, and Evans will be as fresh as you could possibly be with another full week of, with 2 weeks of rest, basically. And you could see Evans throwing multiple times and back-to-back days and all that sort of jazz, So,
and if you win that game, you're also guaranteed kind of regular days off too, which helps.
You got a day off in between.
I think what's at stake. I think you have to throw whoever you need to throw out there.
I agree. Unless you're down big or up big in that game.
Yeah.
If you're down big or up big, you don't do it. But if it's close, then.
I think you kind of throw a little bit of caution to the wind because of the importance of winning that game,
especially if you're up by a run or tied.
Yes, if they're up, I don't.
If you're down by 2, it's hard to justify putting Evans in the game because he gives you length and he's your third starter. And if you're down by 2 run, if you're down by a run, maybe you can justify
Maybe
it.
Cowan or we see
Cowan,
Chase Shores.
yeah, Cowan.
I just think if it's the 6th or 7th inning, it's a close game.
Yeah, you see Cowan or Shorts,
have
but
to go
Evans
for
is
it.
the question.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to go
how
for
do you use him? When do you use him?
That's
And
the big
he's the guy who's
question.
on a roll right now. Cowan has not pitched very well for the last month or so, and I'm very curious to see what they do with Evans because he's the guy, right? He's the third guy. Like, what do you do with him?
No matter what, if you're staying on the winners bracket or if you have to come out of the losers bracket, you need a third starter at some point. So
Yeah,
but
but the importance of that first game changes the math a little bit with that, right? So could you throw Evans at the end of the first game and still have him available for the third game?
I don't know. Those are all things Jay Johnson and staff, I'm sure, are thinking about
Just something
right
to think
now.
about, yeah.
What we are thinking about right now is who's going to win it all. So let's end with predictions. Koki, let's go first. Number 1, how far does LSU go? Number 2, who wins it all? Could be the same answer. Doesn't have to be.
LSU plays 4 games. They go 2-2, and Arkansas wins the title.
Arkansas gives LSU both losses? Is that
Yeah.
Okay. So LSU goes 2-2. They eliminate UCLA and Murray State, but lose twice to Arkansas, and the Razorbacks go on to win the title. Rab, you got any good news for us?
I think LSU's hopes depend so much on whether they win this first game or not. I don't believe any of LSU's 7 national champions lost their first game in Omaha. It's huge, as you said.
2023 team lost their second game.
Yeah,
But
but,
not the first
the
game,
opener is you're immediately in the losers bracket, and you got to play extra. You got to play extra games too. That's the other thing. You can get through if you stay in the winners bracket, and you get through with 3 wins, and it gets you in the championship series. So that's huge. So the caveat there that I think 2-2 though sounds pretty good for LSU overall. If they don't win, I just think they are the underdog in this game against Arkansas, and I'm going to pick Coastal Carolina to win it.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you are taking LSU 2-2?
Yeah.
And then Coastal Carolina to beat Arkansas, I presume.
Beat
in the
Arkansas.
final.
Wow.
All right.
I love that.
We need some dang optimism in here. Go Tigers! I'm picking LSU to win the national title. I don't know if I would have done that if these guys hadn't, but one of us had to. I actually like the Coastal pick. I like Oregon State too from that other half of the bracket. I think they're hot, and I think their pitching is such to where they could be difficult.
But
to score
boy, Florida
runs
State
against
didn't blow that first game. They wouldn't. They wouldn't be there.
That is true, but sometimes that's what it takes.
That's right.
I think Oregon State is going to come out of the other side of the bracket if you had to ask me.
I think that it could be LSU, Oregon State in the final. I'm taking the Tigers.
I think any of the other teams would love to have Coastal's depth of pitching.
That's true.
Although, if you get to a championship final against Oregon State or Coastal or Arizona or Louisville, you gotta love your chances if you're LSU to throw Kate Anderson and Anthony Irons back out.
Yeah, that would be tough
If I'm
for
pulling for a
anyone.
story, like I said, I'm pulling for LSU versus Arizona.
I'm pulling for a story. Give me Murray State Natty, baby. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. That'd be better than Fresno State.
He's thinking of the long odds on Murray State.
Well,
Folks. That's what
maybe
he's
so.
thinking of.
Maybe so. But no, I'm going to make my official pick LSU, another national title, number 8. 8 is great. For Scott Rabalais and Koki Riley, Amelia LaCour is our producer. This has been the LSU Sports Insider podcast. Follow the LSU Tigers at NOLA.com YouTube channel. These guys are going to have videos from Omaha. I will be doing post-game shows from home. You can tune in for that. First game, 6 p.m. Saturday against Arkansas, and we will talk to you then.